Hey everyone, welcome to episode 324, Steps to Taming a Tantrum. Welcome to the Harmony in the Home podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hutchison. I'm a counselor, a life coach, and most importantly, an imperfect mom doing this work right along with you. And my goal on our podcast is to go from chaos to calm, feel less frazzled, and have more fun within your four walls to have more harmony in your home. Now, you know I love when kids tantrum. Now, I actually don't love it, but I will tell you, the more you practice this, the easier it gets. So I'm going to give you actual tangible steps that you can use from toddlers to teenagers to even grown-ups, and you can even do this yourself or your loved ones to help them when they are upset. Because from now until you are 105 years old, you will have emotions running through your body. So will your kids. So will your loved ones. They don't go away. And life is going to be a roller coaster. And so this helps the roller coaster not have such big highs and lows. Before we start talking about that, I want to talk to you about the letter writing that I've been doing for almost a year now. And I would not still be doing it if it wasn't too legit to quit. I absolutely love it. I am low-key addicted, and I love sharing with other people what the letter writing is and why I love it, and sharing with other people, and then they fall in love with it too. So if you're interested in the letter writing, you write letters to companies and you get paid, and you can do 0 a week, you can do 100 a week, you can do 50 a week, you can do as many or as little. There's no quotas, there's no sales, it's all offline. Well, all off social media. There's no sharing it with other people. It can be your little secret, or you could tell people about it. It's totally up to you. But that's probably one of my favorite parts, is that it's all offline. There's no social media. There's no posting about it. There's no talking about it. You can if you want to, but most people think it's a scam. So if you talk to people about it, they just kind of look at you like, oh, okay. And they kind of like pat you on the head like, okay, have fun with your little hobby, with your little side gig. I'm like, no, it's really fun, really fun. So I don't share it as much as I probably could, because the patting on the head, it's kind of like, yeah, I know you don't understand it, but that's okay, because I don't understand it either. So if you want to share it with other people, you can. But most of any money that I've made from letter writing has been from letter writing. So if you're interested, send me an email, send me smoke signals, or click the link in the emails that I send you, because that is the training that I did, put on by two sisters who do such a good and thorough job. Because I understand it, I just don't think I could teach it. And I can help people if they need help, but there's no way I could do it from start to finish like they have. So if you're interested, send me a message and I will hook you up, Buttercup, or just click the link in the email to sign up to do the training that I did that I absolutely loved. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about taming tantrums, and I'm going to give you 4 steps. And these 4 steps, I was doing them forever in the classroom, and I didn't even know that they were actual steps. And because, when you're teaching and you're counseling, you're going to deal with some big behaviors and big emotions. One time I was at dinner with a girlfriend and her daughter, and she was retelling an argument she had with her boyfriend, and how he was supposed to be at the dinner, but then he didn't go to the dinner. I'm like, where's the boyfriend? And then she's like, well, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And then he was running late, and he already knew I had lots of feelings in my body. And so I told him he's not invited. And I was like, wait, reverse. What did you just say? She's like, I told him, he already knew I had a lot of feelings in my body. And oh my gosh, we laughed, and she laughed, and we all laughed, because that was she's pretty much like saying, I've had it. And like, he knew I had had it, and he knew he was on thin ice. And then he was running late. I was like, you know what? I'm out. So all these feelings in my body. So we use that term a lot. These feelings in my body. So you will have loved ones, and your kids will have lots of feelings in their body. So just know that that's going to happen, and you will have tons of practice to do this. So when you're teaching and when you're counseling, you have lots of students that have feelings in their body, and big feelings. And most of them don't know how to control it, especially the younger they are. The younger they are, the less control they have of their emotions. And that's completely normal, because they're new to this planet and they've never done this life thing before. And I'm 50 years old, and I still have a problem managing and controlling my emotions and not overreacting. So when we know that about ourselves, then we can see it in other people and not be so freaked out about it and not make it mean something about us. So when I was flying home, I was on an airplane. This is before you could even get internet on the airplane. This is how long this came to me. And I was like, okay, what do I do during a tantrum? What do I do when a student is acting out? Because it's very easy to do when it's not your kid. When it's your kid, it's a lot harder. So it's good to practice on things that come up that are very minor and don't trigger you as much. So then when the things that do trigger you, you're like, okay, here's go time. This is practice. So you're actually going to look forward to the tantrums. You're not going to create the tantrums, but you're going to look forward to them, like when they get upset about the little things. Because when they get upset about the little things, what do we usually do? We get upset about the little things that they're getting upset about. And then we're all upset. And that doesn't really help. And so I like the analogies of being the calm flight attendant. I like the analogy of being the calm teacher in the classroom, or the analogy of they're in a storm and we have to be the umbrella to help them get out of it. A burning building, they're in a burning building and we can't go into a burning building and be on fire as well. We have to help them get out of the burning building. I like the analogy of picturing them like they have had too much to drink. And that if you've ever tried to reason with someone who's had too much to drink, like at a wedding, it's like talking to someone and they're just like speaking in tongues. They just make no sense. So just think about them in that, just like when we're seeing red, it's very hard for us to reason. So we have to step out of our ego and take our ego out of it and see our child as having a hard time versus giving us a hard time. When you get that part, it is going to be so much easier when you're like, wow, they're really struggling. Just like they're struggling when they're learning to read, we don't just say, go read it, go read it, go read it, go calm down, go calm down. That doesn't really help the situation. So when we see them having a hard time versus giving us a hard time, we will realize like, oh, this is the teachable moment that Kelly's talking about. This is when I need to detach my ego. So I was thinking this through. I was like, why is it so easy for me to do in the classroom, but it's so hard for me to do with my own 2 kids when they were younger? It's still not the easiest, but it gets easier with lots of practice. And certain things trigger me, and then other things that used to trigger me don't. So just know that you're going to be always triggered. And then you just always have to control your side of the street. And it's very empowering to control your side of the street versus always trying to control their side of the street, which I did for about 5 years. And it was literally pointless. And it made the behaviors actually worse. And the tantrums were so strong, so mighty, so long, the duration, and so frequent. I was like, oh my goodness. And I felt like when David got home, all I was doing was tattling on the kids. Like, and then they did this, and then they did this, and then they did this. I was focusing so much on what they were doing wrong that I was not focusing on what they were doing right and finding more evidence of that. So I was flying on an airplane, obviously, and I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I need to teach this. I need to teach this. And I literally pulled out I don't know what to call them. I don't want to be gross, but if you get sick on an airplane, they have those bags in the back seat pocket. I don't want to, if anybody has a emetophobia, I don't want to say the word, but it was on I'll just call it a doggy bag. And they had a doggy bag in the back seat pocket, and I didn't have any Wi-Fi or signal. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write down these steps. And so the 4 steps that you can use every single stinking honking time, they work with friends, family, and loved ones, and really work really well with kids. And what happens over time is that your kids will they already know what to expect. So they're going to learn how to regulate their emotions because you're teaching them how to regulate their emotions. Now, we talked last week that you have to do role playing. I don't care what you do in life, do role playing with emotions, with puppets, with stuffed animals, with just you and the other person, or modeling of you dropping a bunch of plastic bowls when you're emptying the dishwasher, and how I'm going to take a deep breath. Like, you have to model. And if it's hard for you to model when the going gets tough, then just make stuff up. So that's a great way to actually role play. And then ask your kids for advice. What do you do when you get upset? What should I do when I get upset? Or what do you do when you're overwhelmed? What should I do when I'm overwhelmed? I remember when the kids were little, I was looking at the kitchen. I'm like, I can't put all these groceries away, plus the dishes, plus help you guys with your homework. Like, what do you do when you feel overwhelmed? I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now. And then I remember Grady saying, like, Mom, I like to set the music and try to finish by the time the song is over. I was like, that's a great idea. So then I knew that was a strategy that he used. So you always want to be looking at your kids and what are they pulling from and what are they doing when they get upset, or what are they teaching? Because the way they teach is the way that that's all they know. And so that's a really good way to figure out, because they don't understand, they can't articulate it, but just the way they express and the way they teach is a great learning tool for you to use that, to put that in your hip pocket to pull out during one of these steps. So I came up with an acronym, and I did this on the back of the doggy bag. And I have been using this day after day after day after day after day for myself, for loved ones, for the kids, for spouses, for all the people. Okay. And the initials are DLNS. And I came up with the acronym for that because I like mnemonic devices. David loves new shoes. You can come up with whatever you want. But DNLS, it's not the catchiest, but it works. You can make up your own acronym. My mother-in-law's name is Dottie. You could say Dottie loves new shoes. Dorothy loves new shoes. I need mnemonic devices. And this is very hard to remember during the red zone. So you want to practice this. And this is a great place to practice during calm waters is when you're role playing. Like practice it, but don't tell them like, okay, I'm trying these steps that I learned from the podcast. You're just going to practice them without even telling them. So DLNS, the first step and the hardest step is detaching your ego. This is where mantras really come in. Like, okay, they're in a burning building. Okay, I'm talking to someone who's had too much to drink. They're having a hard time versus giving me a hard time. You don't say all these mantras, but pick a mantra that you like. They're in a burning building. They're in a storm. I have to help them out. They're in the middle of an earthquake. They've had too much to drink. They're in the lower part of their brain. They're in their monkey mind. Whatever helps you in those moments. And I like to, you see how I rattle all those off? Those are all stacking right now. They're having a hard time not giving me a hard time is probably one of my favorites. And then I have the other ones underneath. So they're always like backup and they're just kind of like rotating through my brain when I'm in the hot water and I'm in the heat and I'm in the burning building with them and it's tough and it's hot and it's like not enjoyable for anybody. But I'm like, okay, they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time. They're having a hard time. I have to help them. This teachable moment, just like I teach them reading. All these things I'm saying to myself because our self-talk matters. This has nothing to do with me. The child's having a hard time, just like my students used to have a hard time. These are all things I'm just like rattling through my brain. And the more you can detach the ego, because what we do is we see our kids upset and then we get upset because we think that, well, what I used to think, and I still think sometimes, is when they're upset, then that means I must be a bad parent. And that is like the crux of all of it. It's so much fear-based parenting because I'm so afraid of messing it up. So I'm parenting from this fear-based place. And ironically, that's where I'm messing it up. So detach. When they are upset, it does not mean you're a bad parent. It does not mean you're failing. It does not mean that you're not doing a good enough job. It doesn't mean you have to start comparing against your neighbor's kids or your best friend's kids or your sister's kids or your brother's kids. They're having a hard time. All children have hard times. This is how they navigate through life. We have to help them through the tough times so they become not desensitized to it, but they're not so freaked out by it. But what used to happen for me is my kids would get upset, then I would get super upset. Then they were so afraid of getting upset because they knew they'd be in quote unquote trouble or make mom upset. So then they were like walking on tight wire to not be upset, which made it even worse. And they were pushing that beach ball underneath water and that resistance was causing them just to be on eggshells and on edge so much. I felt like I was always walking on eggshells. I almost wanted to put a sign on the door when people came over, like, watch out for the eggshells because we're all walking on them. And it was not fun at all. Because I was so afraid of them getting upset because I made that mean that I was failing as a parent. And then that made them more upset, ironically. Okay, so step 1, D for darling or David or Dottie or whatever, detach the ego, detach. These are children. I love the, this always also helps me too because I had no ego when I was in the classroom, so tantrums were super easy for me. Like I was just super calm and chill during them because I didn't make them mean anything about me. I was like, oh, this kid's really having a hard time. I need to help and support and like get them back on track so they can start doing their schoolwork. You know, I need to talk to their parents and we need to get some interventions and let's help this kid. This poor kid, he's really struggling with his emotions. That was my mindset in the classroom. But then with my own two, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad parent. I'm failing as a parent. I'm horrible. So the difference is I was like, okay, I love seeing my children as children of God. They're on loan for me. I'm borrowing them from God. They are a gift from God. They're a miracle. We never thought we'd even have them. We had a 3% chance of even having kids. So I think that too, that's another mantra that goes through my mind. They're a child of God. They're a child of God. They're a child of God. They do not belong to me. They're on loan to me. I'm just babysitting. And when you feel like you're babysitting a child, it is so much easier to detach the ego. So that's the D. Then the L is you're going to label the emotion that you see them having. You're going to label the emotion. The younger kids, you're going to keep it super basic. The older kids, you can use bigger emotions like disappointed, rejected, left out. I guess that's not really emotion, but lonely is a better emotion. Confusing. You can keep it super basic too. Like that must be so confusing to your brain. So labeling the emotion that you see, and this is so important because the kids are, especially the younger ones, they are so upset and they don't know what's happening. And then when you put a label on it, you're like, wow, you're really feeling sad about that. You're really feeling disappointed. You're really feeling lonely. You're really feeling rejected. I guess rejected is a little harsh, but you get the point. You want to keep it basic and you want to keep it simple. If they're really, really young, you can use I love those posters that have all the emotions on them and you could point to them like, wow, you're really feeling this. And you point to happy, like when they're real little happy, sad, mad, glad. Those are some that you could just like focus on those happy, sad, mad, glad. And I find that like teaching this actually helps me regulate my emotions. I'm like, what do I need when I'm upset? So you're detaching the ego. You're labeling the emotion that you see. It's all very quick. This is not like a sit down, let's go talk about it, because they're in the red zone. You have to help them get out. Then this is so huge. You want to normalize their emotions. I feel that way sometimes too. Have you never? I mean, any emotion that you're going to label, you have felt that before in your life. So you're not lying about it. There's not an emotion I haven't felt in my life in 50 flipping years. And it's a lot of emotions, and they're very tricky. So if they're hard for me, imagine how they are for a new person on this planet. So you normalize it. A simple sentence of, I feel that way sometimes too. I know how that feels. I felt that before, and that's really tough. Things like that are so diffusing. We're diffusing and we're diffusing. We're diffusing. Now, will they have consequences for the behavior? Yes, you can do that later. You don't want to do it in the red zone. You could talk about it later and be like, hey, that was really, what happened was really like out of pocket. Like we need to have something. We need to, if like, let's say they hit a sibling, let's write them an apology letter. Let's, you probably can't be on screens later on today, because you took time away from, we had to deal with that. So we don't have enough time for you to go on screens later. Don't do it during the hot water. Get them out of the hot water, get them out of the fire, and consequences can come later. Not later, like a couple days, like when they're back in the green zone. With the red zone, you want to get them out of the red zone as quickly as possible. So you detach the ego, you label the emotion, you normalize the feeling that they're having, and then you offer support. And support for each child is going to look different. Now, I talked about this so much last week. During the calm waters, you're going to do so much role playing that you're going to know the two things to pull from. One of my kids, I would usually say, do you need help calming down, or do you want to calm down by yourself? That was all I needed to say. And then they usually said, I want to calm down by myself. They would go to the room. They go to the chill chair. They go to the calm down corner. They would do, and sometimes I used to send them to the room and say, you need to go to your room and calm down, because I knew that they like to calm down on their own. And it actually made it worse. So then one of our post meltdown talks, I was like, hey, the reason why I'm sending you to your room is because you always want to do it by yourself, and I actually make it worse. So I'm sending you to your room. And then it seems like it gets worse, but that's what you want. So I'm so confused. And this person said, well, I feel like I'm in trouble, and you're banishing to my room, and like, get away from me. I never want to see you again. I was like, oh, so if I offer you the choice, then that might diffuse it a little bit more. So then going forward, I offered the choice. Do you want to calm down? Do you want help calming down, or you want to calm down by yourself? And then they have autonomy, and they have that free will coming back, and they feel like they're back in control, because right in that moment, life feels very out of control. So support can look very simple. Do you want help calming down, or do you want to calm down by yourself? Because some kids like a lot of support. Some kids do not. It makes it worse. It's oil on fire. Is that the right word? For another child, you want to offer two suggestions. If they need more support and they need more help, then I would usually say, do you want to make soup, or do you want to count your name or spell your name backwards? And then they choose. And so that's when, you don't always want to do the same two choices, but maybe you do want the same. So I would always choose soup. And then I would say, do you want to count backwards? Or do you want to do soup and spell your name backwards? Or do you want to do soup and do jumping jacks? Do you want, like, I would give two choices, and I knew that their go-to was usually soup, which I talked about last week, but that's just one kid out of a million kids. So you have to find out what their go-to is and offer that as a choice, and then offer another choice. Even though you know they're going to choose soup, offering that second choice gives them that sense of control that they are so desperately seeking. So you're going to detach the ego, label the emotion, normalize the emotion. This is all very fast. This is not a sit down, let's talk knee to knee. This is all happening very fast. And then you offer support. So an example could be, I always use a sippy cup color. I'm going to use something different. I mean, with toddlers, they get upset about everything. And then also with teens, they get upset about a lot of things too. So I'm going to do, instead of sippy cup color, I'm going to do they peeled the banana wrong, because that used to make my kids so mad, because sometimes they wanted the whole thing peeled, and then they wanted the banana just on the plate by itself, like a naked banana. And then other times they wanted to peel the banana. They wanted to hold the peel and like have it peeled, and then hold the bottom of the banana peel to eat the banana. Does that make sense? So most of the times I would ask, but many times I would forget. So I would just give it to them like they wanted the last 10 times. But a lot of times they're not really upset about the way the banana peeled. They're upset that they weren't given the choice, I find. Many kids are like this. It's not just my kids or your kids. I just wish that you could see your kids from my POV because you would realize how normal their behavior is. Because a lot of times we get stuck in like, is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? Well, it's normal if our kids are doing it. And I've dealt with thousands of kids, and kids are kids are kids are kids, no matter where you go. And I've taught in so many different types of schools, and I will say kids are kids are kids are kids. So I peel the banana wrong in their mind. I hand them the banana, and then of course they freak out. Let's just say because a lot of times kids will go from 0 to 10. That doesn't mean something's wrong with them. It just means they just need more practice. They need more help. So they go from 0 to 10. They freak out. No, and they throw the banana, or they. So you detach the ego. My kid's having a hard time versus giving me a hard time. Detach the ego. They're a child of God. Whatever helps for you then, you just have a bunch of them just running through your brain. Detach the ego. That's not something you actually do. You just have to kind of do it in your head, and that's where you're having all those mantras going on. Then you're going to label the emotion or label what you're seeing. You agree with them. You're feeling very disappointed that it's not peeled the way you wanted. Yeah. And then they just melt down even more because there's no tug of war at that point. You actually agree with them. You're agreeing with the emotion. A disappointment is a tough feeling. I felt that way too. It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, and now you're like normalizing it. You normalize it. This doesn't make the behavior okay that they threw a banana. We'll deal with throwing the banana later. Right now, we're just trying to get them out of the red zone because no one wants to hear all that screaming and yelling and belly moaning. And we also want to teach them something in the process. Then you could offer support. See how fast this is? This is all very fast. Do you want help calming down, or do you need to calm down by yourself? Because a lot of times we want to fix it like, oh, here's another banana. Here's another banana. Like, no, we're not doing that. We'll deal with that in the green zone. Do you want to make soup to help you calm down? Or do you want to spell the word banana backwards? Do you know how to spell banana backwards? And then they're kind of looking at you like, hey, wait. And then they are like kind of, you see them going from red to yellow to green. And once they're in the green zone, then later we can talk about the throwing of the banana. Not later, tomorrow, the next day, but like, when they're in the solid green, like, hey, what happened with that banana? What's going on with the throwing of the banana? Do we throw bananas? No, that's poor banana. And then a lot of times, the younger they are, I try to make the stuffed animal or the banana or the sippy cup or whatever the thing is, almost like Toy Story, pretend like they have feelings. Oh, this poor banana. This banana was so sad. It got thrown across the room. Oh my goodness, this banana is so sad. Do you want to clean it up, or then you could offer a solution. Like, do you want to clean it up with my help, or do you want to do it by yourself? And they usually will choose by yourself. And if they need help, then you just go get the garbage can and, you could just make it silly and make it playful. And next time we throw the banana, then bananas are going to have to go away for a couple days. And I know how much you love bananas. So you kind of like are giving the consequence, and you're letting them know like what to expect next time. And then in that process, you've just taught them what disappointment feels like. It feels a vibration going through your body, and nothing has gone wrong. You're not going to be in trouble for being disappointed, but there is going to be a consequence for throwing the banana. We have to apologize the banana. We have to throw the banana away. We have to maybe take not all these things, maybe 50 cents out of our allowance to pay for the banana because the banana is now ruined if they threw the banana. So you're kind of like giving the consequence that to fit the crime. And sometimes just a chit chat is the quote unquote consequence. Not everything has to have a consequence, because you're teaching them so much in the process. And then what happens later is when they feel the sense of disappointment about something else, they will be able to articulate in time. This is rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat for years upon years. And then they will come to you, and they will not go from 0 to 10. They will say, I'm feeling disappointed. I wish you peeled the banana wrong. They will have rational conversations, or they'll go from green to yellow and then be upset, but not go from green to straight to red. And I promise you what happens over time is they're not so holding that beach ball underneath water, and they're not so scared of being in trouble for getting upset. And you'll find that the tantrums, and I don't like to call them tantrums, just their feelings in their body, they'll happen with less intensity, less frequency, and less duration. But I promise on a stack of Bibles, they will never, ever, 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 ever go away. And we don't want them to, because we want them to experience emotions as much as humanly possible in our four walls. So when they grow up and they're grown and flown, they're like, oh, this is part of the human experience. I felt disappointment before. I felt frustrated. I felt annoyed. I felt mad. I felt sad. I know these emotions. I felt them for 18 years, 940 Saturdays in my four walls, and they're completely part of the human experience. Nothing to be scared of. We're going to actually lean into them. And I've, for 18 years, been working on strategies to manage my emotions so my emotions don't manage me. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week, and I hope this helped. Bye-bye. Hey, mamas, thanks for listening. If you had any ahas, clicks, or those lightning bolt moments while listening, you have to check out my free parenting bootcamp, where we take all of this to the next level, and we try to create even more awakenings for ourselves so that we can connect more with our kids and never yell at them again. You can sign up at www.coachingkelly.com. And if you really want to fill up my love cup, send me an email of what your aha was, what your click was, what was that lightning bolt moment while you were listening. I want nothing more in life than for you to have harmony in your home and to learn how to be an imperfect mom like me, which allows your kids to be imperfect too, each and every day. Thanks for listening.